Hey guys, notes from the editor. Ephraim here. Just wanted to issue a spoiler warning for both The Happening and The Visit in the episode you're about to listen to. If you want my honest opinion, The Happening doesn't matter so much, but The Visit really does. Steer clear if you haven't seen it. You have been warned. Now, without further ado, please enjoy the second episode of Jews with No Money. It appears that we're back.
Are we back?
It was Jover, and now we're back.
It's never Jover, baby.
I guess not. That is all
It's
I'll
only
say.
Jover when he gives a 10-minute speech.
Did he do that today?
Well, no, he didn't do that today. He made an announcement
Oh,
based
man.
on no one man is bigger than the presidency.
You know,
Okay, I might have
politics.
gone a little too Bush there.
Yeah,
Whoopsie.
you're the politics doer around here. I try to stay uninformed.
I haven't done any politics recently. I only did 2 last Thursday.
Ooh, you're slacking. You're slacking.
What can I say? Maybe
You
we could
apologize.
say who the hell we are.
Oh, yes. I am Ephraim. Who are you
And
this week?
I'm my name is Hugh Jass. But for the for the sake of the podcast, you can call me Jake.
Do we have a huge ass here? I need a huge ass. If a huge
No.
ass doesn't... Oh, what?
Yeah,
No?
you got Jake.
Oh, I got Jake. Okay.
You can call me Jake. Yeah.
Alright.
Don't call
Alright,
me Hugh,
Jake.
please.
Okay, Jake. What did we watch this week for the second episode of Jews with No Money?
Well, I believe one of your bits for the whole Jews with no money thing is the no money part. And we're doing things that cost under $50 million.
Mm.
Now, that might sound like a lot of dough, but you'll come to find a lot of movies cost more than $50 million. Did you know this?
I did know this. I've learned a lot about budgets recently. Unnecessary.
Movies are fucking expensive, man. But this year we're cooking because this isn't Matt Damon Monday anymore. It's motherfucking M. Night Shyamalan Sunday
Yeah.
or Saturday, whenever
Well,
this goes
Sunday
up.
when this will come out. And by Sunday I mean just at 12:30 a.m. on Monday.
Yeah.
So which Shyamalan movies did you think had the juice?
Oh, don't rush it, buddy, because before we got to the first movie we're talking about, he had quite a hot streak. And though angry 40-year-old white men who don't have a wife in their 40s and 50s will not call this a hot streak, people
Come on,
on
man.
the
Why are you
younger side of people.
why are you doing Jaden like that? Come on. Come on.
I'm sorry. I can't believe all 4 people who know who Jaden is.
Honestly, that's like everyone who listens to this probably knows who Jaden is.
Yeah, all 4 people. That was not a dig. The 4 people listening to this probably know who Jaden is.
He's gonna lose his mind when he hears.
I'm sorry, Jaden.
We love you.
I really wish you got to basketball, but hey, what are you gonna do? Could have been a killer.
The first 4 notable Shyamalan movies that he did, because he did do Wide Awake and Praying with Anger, but no one watches those.
Sorry if there's any big fans of those 2 out there. I'm sure they're amazing.
My condolences. But the first 4 that really put him in the mainstream, you got Sixth Sense, you got Unbreakable, you got Signs, and The Village. I guess The Village and Signs have their detractors, but for the purposes of this, I think they're generally decently liked.
The detractors are wrong, by the way. All 4 of those movies kick ass.
Those are very good. Very good movies.
And before we jump into our first film, Mr. Ephraim, if you had to pick just one of those, which one are you going with?
Just one of those is my favorite. The Village is probably my favorite. Signs is not far behind. But The Village, I don't know. We'll get into it later, but I think The Village is probably his magnum opus as far as, I don't know, kind of having all his weird little interests, and it just has amazing filmmaking. One of the best cinematographers working on it. Has a good performance from Bryce Dallas Howard, which is crazy.
Hey, she's good in The Lady in the Water.
I have not seen The Lady in the Water. I did not know she was in that. The Lady in the Water is one of my blind
spots. The Lady in the Water.
Really? Okay. This is news to me. One of my Shyamalan blind spots, as well as the ones that you picked for this week. Neither of these I had seen before now.
Well, our first movie this week came after he made The Lady in the Water, and some people were criticizing him, but the real ones know that bro was on a crazy hot streak. And so our first one from 2008, starring Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, among some other people,
Or the Funky Bunch?
is
I must have
the
missed.
Funky Bunch are not in it.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know. Maybe the Funky Bunch were part of the people who killed himself. But the happening, the
The
happening,
Happening.
the happening. People have been very mean to this movie, but I'm cutting it some slack because I'm gonna be that guy. You guys do not get it.
You guys are not smart enough to get The Happening.
You guys are not smart enough to get the happening. People get mad at the dialogue, the way M. Night writes his characters, but you know what? People are very forgiving to David Lynch and Ingmar Bergman when they do that shit. Not a dig at them, but I like that too. But might just be some of that old school racism because a lot of people like to say M. Night's name incorrectly.
It is
But
weird.
what are you gonna?
Easy to pronounce name. I mean,
Very easy
M
to
Night.
pronounce.
M Night is like shortened from a more, a longer name. But he made that part easy. The last name
And
isn't.
I was about to say, M. Night is one of the hardest names ever.
And
That's
most people on set just call him Knight, which is so cool.
oh, that's even cooler. I didn't even know that.
By all accounts, he's just like an awesome guy to work with. Like I've watched a lot of behind the scenes videos he's done, and he just seems like
Yeah,
a nice guy. It's a
it's
weird.
very funny that he's the director that a lot of people are weird about because out of a lot of the modern auteurs, and I'm sure we're gonna end up talking about on here, M. Night seems just like a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, it is a weird thing. I'm sorry, I'm gonna use this vocabulary in a podcast, but it is weird that there was this need to create a vulgar auteurism movement around this guy because for the most part he just kind of likes making like pretty mainstream like populist entertainment movies, and they still are like creatively executed, and they're integral to his vision and whatnot, but his intention is to entertain. And even with this movie, uh which mainstream audiences didn't love that much, it was still, he doesn't go out trying to piss people off. So it's kind of weird
And
that the vitriol
correct me if
was
I'm
strong.
wrong, but M. Night usually brings in the dough, doesn't he?
Yep, The Happening was number 2 at the box office in its opening weekend. Didn't quite hit number 1, but it made a lot.
Do you
Cost
know by any chance what beat the happening?
I was looking it up. Oh, it was the Incredible Hulk. It was the Incredible Hulk.
Wait, the Ed Norton one?
Yeah, that bad one.
No!
Yeah. Which is weird.
Boo!
That isn't one of the higher grossing Marvel movies. The Happening made more of a profit because if you look up the Happening budget on Google just for that guy, it says 60 million, but if you look at the Wikipedia, it says 48 to 60. So I'm going to
That
guess
counts.
48. I'm counting that because the 60 could be marketing. So I don't
And
care.
you know what? M. Night is the king of making shit under 50 million, so he gets the pass even if it is above.
Yeah,
Fuck it.
very true.
Because I think even if it's still 48 million, this is one of his more expensive outings, isn't it?
Um yeah, I think The Sixth Sense was weirdly kind of expensive. It's like 55, but I think that's mainly just like
I think they gave him money because he was a
the
hot writer up to
screenplay.
that
Yeah,
point.
the screenplay was passed around to a lot of different studios. People were bidding on it a lot. It's very
For
popular.
good reason. It's a
Yeah,
very good
sure.
screenplay.
Good script.
Alright, and now I'll stop babbling about all that other stuff. Ephraim, Mr. Host of the podcast or whatever, what did you think about M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening?
So, as we were sort of hinting at earlier, there was kind of an era of Shyamalan where he was on top of the world, and then there was this era where he was, let's say, experimenting. He was, I'll ungenerously call it his flop era because some of these movies just were critical. They
Oh,
were critical flops. All right.
I wouldn't say his flop era
After
is
Earth and The Last
yeah.
Airbender, 2 movies I know you don't like, were included in this. So just looking at objectively, as in I don't believe in objective movie criticism, but as success rates, this is not when Shyamalan was at his most revered.
Okay, in that context, sure, yeah.
Right. The Happening. Lady in the Water people didn't love because I guess it was like called pretentious. The Happening, I think people did not like the style or the tone that he was going for. Um, my take maybe disappointing to you, not in that not in that I dislike the movie, in that I honestly just think it's like kind of okay. I
Oh my
I'm
god,
have a really
I
weird
got
opinion.
talented, Mr. Ripley. I
Yeah, how
got
does it feel?
talented, Mr. Ripley by Ephraim. Holy shit.
I, as a strong purveyor of the M. Night's body of work, I feel like I see elements of this that are just done better in some of his other movies. There are some very funny moments, so you're not going to be like disappointed. I think those moments are about as funny as you, and I'm not. I get what he's going for, and I'm not like hyperbolically like, oh, this is like terrible acting, and what the hell was he thinking? Because like I know what he's
All
thinking.
right, wait. Before you keep going, what's your favorite Wahlberg delivery?
It would be boring to just go with what no.
What? No.
So I'm going to go with a completely superfluous bottle of cough syrup. And it's combined with the little look that he gives to Zoe Deschanel. She's like, "Are you being for real?" And he's like, he does like a little nod that I can't even imitate, and it's hard to fucking convey on the audio.
I was in a pharmacy a while ago. There was a really good-looking pharmacist behind the counter. Really good looking. I went up and I asked her where the cough syrup was. I didn't even have a cough. And I almost bought it. And I'm talking about a completely superfluous bottle of cough syrup. That's like $6.
Are you joking?
It's one of the funniest moments from the thing. That was one of the laugh out loud moments for me. I'm like, that's genuinely just really good comedy.
And this is a movie that people do not act like is intentionally funny.
And that's what I take issue with. I think there are aspects of the movie that definitely he wants to be somewhat scary or serious or sentimental, but it clearly is, again, keyword trying to be a B movie, sort of weird eco terrorist exploitation weird movie. Um I would agree with critics in that it is weird. I don't agree with critics that it is bad. Or
It's a
unintentional.
weird movie.
It is weird. It
It's
is
it's a weird movie the same way Mulholland Drive is a weird movie, I'd say.
But yeah, I mean, this is also kind of the first M Night movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. That I guess maybe Signs doesn't have a huge twist, but there's the twist, and this has been said before. But the twist in this movie is that there really isn't a twist. Like it kind of gives you a little bit of doubt about what's causing the happening in the title, and they even like renamed it eventually to the happening. It was called like Green something in its initial stages. So
Hmm.
they tried to make it semi-ambiguous, but they kind of settled on, it's kind of the best idea if it's just like a weird, sudden, defense mechanism of nature. They're like fed up with the humans, so they just release like a toxin. In the beginning, it seems like terrorism, and that's like I feel like that's like a clumsy sort of post 9/11 thing.
Oh, okay. Thank you for mentioning 9/11 because that is going to be
Thanks for
very
mentioning
important
9/11 is
in a little bit.
not a sentence you hear very often.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't take that out of context, but I will say on the record, thank you for reminding me about 9/11, Ephraim.
um yeah, so it kind of starts with that, and I think what a lot of, particularly my mutuals who feel really strongly about this movie, which I can't say that I do, but who really like this movie, think it's like an interesting depiction of like how people respond to a catastrophe, and just
Mass hysteria.
yeah. And I do think that's interesting, especially when it's something you can't nail down the cause of exactly. um
And you said something about how earlier there's not really a twist
right.
because they kind of throw the idea that it was the plants at you earlier by the guy who's talking about the shape of hot dogs, unrelated.
Right. That guy's awesome.
You know, hot dogs get a bad rap. They got a cool shape, they got protein.
But The reason I do really like that bit is that throughout the movie they throw all these possible different ideas around,
Mm-hmm.
and none of them are really any more believable than the last one
Right.
because they do all realize this is a very insane scenario.
Mm.
I mean, this is a very odd thing.
Right.
I can understand why they think this is toxic warfare, and this will be my first one. This is 2008 after 9/11,
Yeah.
and as you probably know because you watched the fucking movie, the news says that all this is happening during the main course of the movie in the Northeast.
Oh, yeah. That part is very interesting to me. I'm like, come on, why is this happening to us? I'm claiming the
Now,
Northeast now because I live there now.
I don't know if any of you are historians out there, but 9/11, the attack on the World Trade Center, happened in the Northeast.
Yeah.
So some of the people who this is happening to could have known people. They lived through this 7 years earlier. So it's like, not again. I think I think it's very effective in everything that it's trying to do in the post 9/11 movie way. Like, there's a really good shot in the beginning where the construction workers are watching their friends like fall down from the top, and there's just like people hitting the ground. Wonder if that reminds anyone of anything.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. This movie definitely could not have come out like basically any earlier than it did. See, there are a lot of post 9/11 movies that came out in 2008. You got Cloverfield and you got Dark Knight.
And I honestly, I don't care if people get mad, and I think this is the best of them.
Crazy. All right.
And it's kind of a play on, because I'm sure on 9/11, one of the first things people were saying, they're like, "Oh my god, a plane crashed," and they're like, "I bet it's Osama bin Laden." No, there was a million things that people were saying
Right.
in the middle of all
No, people
this.
are not rational, and I think that's one thing the movie definitely gets right. Is just there's a lot of confusion. People don't know how to act, and so they do stupid shit, act in beguiling ways, are not really trustful of other people, and it's this time it's like a real ambiguous situation. It's not like COVID where the guidelines are like decently clear. Um, Although again, this if this had come around COVID, it wouldn't have been too off topic either. You can sort of apply it in a few different ways. Um,
I
but yeah,
think
that
Jeremy
panic.
Strong's character, who was a very good, was an awesome way of kind of showing what you were just talking about.
He is, yeah, he is quite a presence in this movie. Jeremy Strong's never giving a totally normal performance.
My firearm is my friend! It will not leave my side!
He's
Uh,
in it for about 15 minutes, and it's 15 minutes straight.
yeah,
Because he's the reason they move off the streets and start going into the grass fields.
where they're running away from the wind, which
Where they're
is
running away from the. I mean, what else are they supposed to believe at that
no.
point?
I mean, I'm
And
not.
even then, not even to fault them, but M. Night does realize the comedy in this. Like, yes, they have good reason to be running away from the wind because they have no idea what's happening, but it is true that this is a bunch of adult people running around in a grass field.
No, it is weird. I mean that scene is interesting because it's like you have all these people that are stopped and they're like, should we stay in our cars? Should we go outside? Because there's no real telling, what area is safe. And then they're like, we got to go to someplace with no people. But then I'm like, okay, but you're traveling in a large horde of people, so then it's like, and again, like, yeah, I mean, it's a reasonable explanation. It's like, what are you gonna do? Nothing like this has ever really happened in the real world. And I definitely
And the
think,
best thing that Shyamalan does with this mass hysteria is he does implement a real dose of comedy into it
yeah,
and horror, which we'll get into a little bit later. But he does realize how funny this is, like
yeah.
just on paper.
Well, the scene of Mark Wahlberg talking to the houseplant is hilarious. He's like, please don't hurt me. I just want to go to the bathroom. And then he feels it. It's like, it's plastic. I'm talking to a plastic houseplant. And he does it, I'm doing it more like sardonically than he does.
Plastic. Talking to a plastic plant. I'm still doing it.
He is the ultimate himbo protagonist. Um,
He's honestly, if most of the stuff that people criticize, some of the comedy stuff that M Night put in the movie as comedy, if any of this was in like a Hitchcock B film, they'd let that shit slide. So
I mean, it's been M. Night compared it a lot to The Birds, and I see that. The Birds is
oh
not
my
one of my
god,
favorite. Is not one of my favorite Hitchcocks. I do like it, perhaps more than you, but that is the most fair comparison. The Birds is kind of a goofy movie. Um, Ultimately, though, if there were a bunch of killer birds, that's a weird enough situation that.
that is amazing that you said that, because I was going to talk about the birds right after that without even knowing
Oh
M Night compared it to the
shit!
birds.
Yep, there you go. You're set up nicely.
So yet again, the birds is not. I mean, it is one of his most popular, but I wouldn't call it one of Hitchcock's most critically acclaimed. Like, I don't think
It's
people
no
put it in the
Psycho.
same.
It's no
It's
Psycho.
no Psycho. It's no Vertigo.
Yeah,
I don't think people usually put it in that same tier.
no,
But this would make a mean double feature with The Happening, wouldn't it?
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean,
Just, just the vibes are there, man.
yeah, and just
The
the
sense of not really knowing what's going on, and how each scene contradicts the one right before it. Like, you think where the movie is going, and then Zoe Deschanel like stare off or like act weird or something. You're like, oh, is she maybe infected? Or and
yeah,
then and then there's an actual scary scene. Like, I will mention the opening. I think the opening is quite good and effective. When
yeah,
everybody stops moving in Central Park, that is a
very
very
cool.
good scene.
It's very cool. I like the ending where it mirrors that as well. We
Also, I'd
will
like
get
to
to
say,
that
haha, that it moves from the Northeast to France. Fuck you, France.
later. That is true. Yeah, there are sort of these segments. It's kind of a road trip movie.
Kind of a road trip movie.
A little
I
bit, a little
can get
bit. It's kind of like Sideways if there were a bit more people killing themselves.
more
Um,
suicide.
right. No, I mean a lot of the opening stuff I think is pretty cool. There may be some like dated VFX, but they're not a huge deal. Um,
Yeah, this
uh,
movie is not perfect. I will
yeah.
say
Um,
there's still some things that I can like. I do not think Zoe Deschanel is very good.
I think it's for the cast. It's a matter of people aren't on the same page of what movie they're in, and I will
Yes,
say that
yes.
that is not entirely the actor's fault. I think you could reasonably say that M. Night wasn't clear about his intentions to everyone because I just truly think that M. Night wants to do multiple things at once, and they aren't bad things. I think this movie kind of works, and that's my. If you had to do a blurb for my
This
first,
is a movie I think in my head completely works, and I could
Hmm.
still admit that it can be clunky in some parts.
Yeah, but yeah,
It's a hard
I
movie to
think
pull off,
no, it
and I
is
think he really does it.
definitely. But I think Zoe Deschanel definitely isn't in on the joke. Mark Wahlberg is an interesting casting decision because Shyamalan saw a lightness in Mark Wahlberg that would contrast with how dark the story is. And even Mark Wahlberg in the interview is like, I don't know why he sees all this good in me.
Knight, for whatever reason, thinks I am this completely innocent person. I can't say that I am entirely innocent. I've had my brushes with the law in the past and my scrapes with trouble, but
You can look at Wahlberg's Wikipedia. It's a little disturbing.
I didn't know this, but I think I already know what M Night's talking about.
Yeah, so he cast them as it's sort of projection of how Shyamalan sees Wahlberg as kind of a family man, as a soft-spoken individual.
Now,
He
you see,
cast him
I
as
don't
a
think that's
science
necessarily
agent.
true.
It's not true,
I
but
I think M Night is seeing Wahlberg under like the TED guideline. I think he's seeing him as like, oh, he's just like, he doesn't think about shit. He's going day to day. He's thinking about, praying. He's thinking about
that
going
is
outside, playing ball.
that
He's
is
a
kind of
simple
interesting.
man.
Yeah. Well, he does kind of later
And
go
I
into
think,
a lot more comedies in the 2010s. So yeah, that would
and
track.
I think earlier than that, I think it's like the same kind of thing as like PTA casting Mark in Boogie Nights,
Mm.
because he has like a
Yeah,
youthful dumbness to him. If
yeah.
that's a way of saying it.
It's
I
a
think it's the same kind of case here, but it's like a grown man, a simple man.
he's a simple
I
man.
think that's what I'm saying. He's a simple man.
Himbo protagonist, absolutely.
Himbo protagonist.
And
Also unrelated, but there's a great shot of him sitting on the side of the street. I think sometime after John Leguizamo leaves, and his kid walks up to him. I don't know. I just really like that shot of Wahlberg.
Yeah, I actually really like John Leguizamo's character, as brief as he's kind of in the movie. I actually think John Leguizamo may be my favorite performance. He's definitely in a more dramatic movie than like Wahlberg's in, but I actually think he's the one pulling it off. The scene where he goes is kind of devastating. You talked about this in your review, but the line he says,
man.
Yeah.
Before he leaves to go see if his wife is alive in Princeton, he gives Zoe Deschanel his daughter, and the last thing he says to Mark and Zoe was, "Don't take my daughter's hand unless you mean it," which is some fucking cold-blooded ass shit to say to somebody. God damn!
Genuinely a great line. I think
such a cool line.
Yeah,
dude, he delivers it so well too.
Yeah, I really undervalued John Leguizamo as an actor. I think the broader world maybe has.
I think his death is really cool too.
It's really
where he looks up and he notices the hole in the roof.
Yep.
And he just tries to distract the rest of the people and himself.
Yeah, that one's pretty brutal.
Really good.
Yeah, a lot of the suicide scenes are justifiably disturbing.
No, I will say,
and I think Shyamalan was kind of trying to balance. He was using Wahlberg to be like, okay, this sucks, but Wahlberg really cares, and he's a goofy science teacher. So,
have you guys heard about the bees?
Why are the bees
migrating north? It's funny that that's probably actually something to do with it, as we learned from the end.
No, it is kind of a metaphor for the whole thing. I mean, the bees disappear just suddenly, just like nature in this movie is unpredictable, and it just kind of goes away when Mark and I keep calling her Zoe. I can't call her Alma because I keep wanting to call her Jess, but there's a girl named Jess that's a young girl in this movie, and she's Jess from New Girl.
No.
She's Jess from New Girl.
Who's that girl? It's Jess.
Shut up, man.
I knew you were gonna bring it into it. No, I was thinking about it as well.
The second we started this, I'm like, is he gonna fucking talk about it?
You thought about it as well. I know you did. I know you, when they said Jess, you're like, huh?
Well, I don't give a shit because that's a nice segue, and I'm gonna stop being nice for a second and say the kid's involvement in the movie is kind of useless. There's no reason for her to be there other than John Leguizamo's really good scene. She doesn't do anything else from the rest
She herself,
I guess
is
her
not a very
presence
strong
is felt.
character. Her presence is felt. She herself is not a very strong character, and it's weird.
And also,
someone is great at child characters, but yeah, she doesn't have like any real agency or whatever in the narrative. She's just kind of holding Alma's hand throughout, and there's some very cool shots of that, and there's some sentimental moments, but yeah, her character doesn't completely seal the deal for me. The emotional core, again, kind of works for me. It's not completely there.
I think one of the scenes that people clown on the most, where Mark Wahlberg's going, just give me a minute to think, I need to think for a second.
That's hilarious.
I actually think it's hilarious and good.
I find that to be a very obvious joke. I think it is like, okay, what are they gonna do? And then they're like looking for the science expert, and he's like, I don't know.
They're dying!
I need a second. They released it? We're not near the road.
We can't just stand here as the uninvolved observers!
I need a second, okay? Just give me a second!
We're not gonna be one of those assholes on the news who watches a crime happen and not do something. We're not assholes!
Just a second!
There were children in that room! Elliot, please tell us what to do!
I need a second, okay? Why can't anybody give me a goddamn second?
And it's like taking him longer every time they keep asking him. I absolutely think that's supposed to be a bit.
I think it's not only a bit, but a realistic bit, too.
Right.
Because he's getting a million things being shouted at him. He's hearing one by one every 3 seconds a gunshot go off, and Jeremy Strong.
No, and the way Mark Wahlberg's figuring out the situation is like the guy in Sherlock. He's like running the calculations in his head. I love it in movies where they like try to prove that the main character knows a lot about science. Sometimes it's so shoehorned. In this one, I would say it's also shoehorned because no one believes that Mark Wahlberg is really a scientist. But it's very funny.
Nobody believes he could be a priest either, but Father Stu proved
Father Stu. Shout out to all the 3 Father Stu fans out there. Oh, boy,
Shout
you
out
are one.
to Father Stu fans out there. It's one of the worst fucking movies ever.
Yeah, Wahlberg's a weird one for me. I think he's kind of a fluke actor. I don't actually
He
think
gives
this is not one of his worst performances. It's weird that he got dogged on so much. He's fine.
he's occasionally gives a really good performance in a
The
movie, usually
Departed,
by an
Boogie
auteur.
Nights. Yep, The Departed, Boogie Nights, by far the standouts. There's some
Pain and
comedies where
Gain.
he's pretty
Pain
funny.
and Gain
Yeah, I
by
haven't
Michael
seen
Bay.
Pain and Gain. I'm sure he's well utilized here. He's like okay utilized here. I just think he is confused why he's in this role, and it's okay because his character needs him to be confused. But it's not
I
quite
think it's
top dog
just really
Mark.
good, like meta casting. Honestly,
I wrote down in my notes, this is an eyebrow performance.
nice.
I think it is. His eyebrows are very expressive. Yeah, all the gritty Boston-ness has been shaved off of Mark Wahlberg in this movie. He's the only time he really gets tough is when he's saying to you in the beginning. Actually, he's asking Jake, "Don't you have an opinion, Jake?"
Jake, you don't have an opinion? You're not interested in what happened to the bees?
Gotta have an opinion. And
Gotta have-
after seeing that, I'm like, damn, I should have opinions.
Do you have opinions on science?
You know, I have an opinion or two. And I think the first one I want to talk about is religion.
Right.
You don't want to stop me?
I mean, I won't if you wanna break the happening discussion and talk about religion.
Oh, I'm usually used to somebody stopping me, but
Do you think the happening was a religious experience for you?
you know, the biggest religious experience I've had with The Happening is the reception this movie has, even when I just kind of find it like a pretty straightforward, good movie. It never shows its full hand. Like, I think the biggest shock in the movie is when that, fucking, what's that, like, Jared got shot?
Oh my god, yeah. I was just about to bring that up. There are definitely
They
some
can't,
shocking deaths, but you notice they're more, I don't know. They feel more reflective of, like, I guess, the human experience than any, like, external force in the movie. That was, I don't know. Those do kind of get to you, but they're also a little funny at the same time. I'm like, wow, Shyamalan is so protective of kids, but these kids are just straight up getting murked by these
yeah,
protectionists.
the first kid was, like, banging on the door trying to get the
Yeah,
country bumpkin to
they do
open.
kind of have
And
a
the second kid, he just puts the gun out the window and he just fucking shoots the second kid.
It is kind of
Wasn't even doing shit.
it is crazy. Yeah, there are a lot of encounters that they have with people that are just strange and stilted in the normal Shyamalan style, and I think where people drop off is the weird sort of sense of humor he has about them, a kind of dark sense of humor.
Honestly, with the people who go like insane on this movie, give it like a 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, call it dog shit. I'll just go out and say it. I think M. Night Shyamalan's humor just went over their fucking head.
Yeah, I think this is the first time he had really, really tried to wield it. I haven't seen Lady in Water, but I don't think that was quite the Titan killer in the way that The Happening was. Because I just don't think people were locked into all the tonal shifts and kind of it existing at once. I think people, we'll talk about it later. I think people got it with The Visit, which is why it's one of his better received movies.
Yeah, that was the one where they called it the quote unquote return to form, which is very funny because they've said that about like his last 4 movies.
Yeah.
And if you have to keep calling it a return to form, it's almost like he's
Maybe
just
a
good director.
Yeah.
It's maybe like he's just a good director.
Yeah, a lot of the detours they make are pretty funny. Obviously, we got to talk about like the old lady. So that segment is
Yes, I forgot about that. I love that last like 20 minutes of this movie is spent in like a 50s Betty Davis movie. This really is like the ultimate 50s homage from M. Night. It's the Birds up until the end, and then it's
right.
What's that movie called? Then it's All About Eve for a little bit.
That's crazy. That's a crazy comparison. As a big All About Eve shooter. But no, I think the actress who plays the old lady, I'm spacing on her name, she was pretty excited about the role, and I think she does a good job. She's just what she's
My
best.
my headcanon with her was she's not until her death. She is not intoxicated in the film. She's just a really fucking weird old lady.
I mean, yeah, it's the direction that M Night gave her, and that I think is a smart piece of direction is, or like what he was looking for, I guess, from her that this actress did different is that she was making an earnest effort to like try to open herself up to people, because like when they first go to this house, it's like, oh, this driveway hasn't been driven, this house looks run down, because she like literally just is a homebody. She never goes out. She doesn't trust people normally. She doesn't even want to hear about the news about what's happening in the Northeast. But she like says, okay, I guess the nice thing would be offer you dinner. She's reluctant, and she kind of explodes at Jess, the little girl, when she like reaches for something on the table, and it's like, it's not polite. Touch things that aren't yours. So there are all these little bits that are set up that lead to her kind of exploding and just acting irrationally.
Why are you eyeing my lemon drink?
I love that you can tell M Night just like fucking loves 50s movies, man.
Yeah.
You can just tell he's so like if he was around back then, he would have gotten Betty Davis, he would have gotten Joan Crawford, and he would have fucked around, man. R.I.P. to the movie that will never exist.
I guess my nitpick is that I kind of wish something from those movies was more. It's carried in the music, and it's not exactly carried in the performances, but at least that lady is giving it the college try. I think visually, I wish it more resembled. Like I would have loved it if he just made it grainy, or if he did a vibrant, more like Technicolor look, or something that would have resembled something you would pull out of a VHS. But I think he was getting a lot of money, so he was trying to make a big star vehicle, Mark Wahlberg, get people out to the theater, make it kind of
You know,
the guise of being serious. And I just think he should have dropped that, because I think you can hide serious moments in B movies, but I think it just has the appearance, the surface level appearance of a serious, nail biting thriller when it's clearly trying to be something a little more campy. So
I
that
guess I can agree with you, but I am a sucker for the late 2000s HD look.
it does look like something you could play on a TV in Walmart pretty well. 2008.
Hey, fuck you.
Hey, that's not it's not that much of a dig.
There's a Target house.
Yeah, I guess this is before the old lady, but I will say one of the most genius and like random visual bits is the house where everything's fake. I kind of want to spend a whole movie there, because I'm like, why the hell do they just have this like model home with like
Dude, I love when the kid says, they must have gotten out of here in a rush. Everything's fake. Because it sounds normal, but then
it
like
doesn't.
a minute afterwards, you're like, wait, what?
And Mark Wahlberg's like clearly wanting to take the sip of the wine, and then he's looking like, oh shit, this is just solid.
This might sound pretentious, but I love that line just because I remember as a 14-year-old kid wanting to feel like you had something to say in an important situation.
Yeah, those kids even try to give Mark Wahlberg relationship advice, and he's not in another
Awesome.
movie. You
It's
might see
great.
Mark Wahlberg be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And this one, he's like, "Okay, yeah, because he's basically getting cucked in this movie a little bit,
Oh yeah, she's cheating on him.
kind of, not really. It's such an
Kind
innocent thing
Oh
where
wait,
she's
no,
like
she's not
dodging
cheating
balls.
on him. She got dessert. I'm
She
sorry.
got dessert.
I'm
You
sorry,
can even
Zoe.
see their. I'm gonna say Jess from New Girl. Jess from New Girl was interviewed, and you could even see her start to giggle when she describes the conflict that is going on in this movie.
Joey is just this guy that Alma knows from work. He's paying attention to her, so she is sort of flirting. She has dessert with him.
God bless her. I don't think she really liked being in this movie. And you can kind of tell she's a little uncomfortable. But you can see a sort of through line with going to the model home, and they're with these like kids who tagged along. And then Jess. So it's kind of they're trying to make a makeshift family, because Warburg says something about wanting to maybe have kids, but she wasn't ready. She cried at the wedding, as John Leguizamo said. Rest in peace. But I like the whole episode with the old lady, how that pays off. The what no is dogged on a lot, but I think you'll agree. That's honestly a pretty reasonable line delivery.
I think it's a. She says, "What are you gonna do? You gonna murder me in my sleep? Rob me out of like fucking nowhere?" And Wahlberg, well, it's a pretty normal reaction on Wahlberg. I don't know how I would have reacted.
What?
What?
No.
No. What?
No. I mean, I don't really get why. I don't know. I don't get how he was supposed to deliver that line. I'm not saying that's the only way he could have, but it's like it is kind of comical. It's supposed to be comical. And then she goes outside and she winds up killing herself. Um, which I will say there are a couple moments where people kill themselves where I'm like, man, Wahlberg could have like run in there, but he's a deer in headlights. He is not doing anything. Just in pure shock.
I think he was afraid that. I think because they still didn't know how you get affected. I think he was
Right.
afraid like, oh, if I go over there, I'm gonna get the freaking spooky juice up in my nose.
Is that how he sounds? Wow.
Sorry, that was an interesting Wahlberg impression.
that was fascinating. I thought you were going for a Beatle at first, and then it kind of morphed into like a Boston thing.
You know what? Maybe those 4 Beatle movies that are coming out in a few years would be good if Mark Wahlberg plays all 4 of them.
Hell yeah!
That or get the Dewey Cox Beatle cast.
Oh yeah. But I think there's one ingenious like little plot device thing at the end that's very obviously set up when the old woman is like, hey, go to this place, this like shed area or whatever, it'll sound like the person talking through in this room is like right next to you. And then they do that, and it's like a symbolic thing where like Mark Wahlberg's trying to guide Zoe Deschanel because like the wind is going crazy. And that part, even though I think these people in general were cast because they don't have a lot of like romantic chemistry, I think that part was actually a little moving to me. I actually kind of liked the way that was paid off. I like that they went outdoors and were like, you know what, fuck it, we'll even bring this little girl along, even if we die. Would rather not be separated by this wall. Go together.
Yeah, I was about to mention. Amazing that she brings the kid with her.
Amazing. It is. It's kind of sweet. Kind of sweet. I don't know if they have a future beyond the movie. I don't think Mark Wahlberg and Zoe Deschanel will ever work together again in a romance movie. But, it kind of works. And that's kind of my...
I think it's good casting. It's good casting for who the characters are.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I hope I didn't disappoint you with this one. I just kind of think it's, like, neat.
I just think they're neat.
Which leads me into believing what your rating is.
What is my rating?
Now,
I'll probably decide what my rating is, like, after you guess it.
Now, I've talked to the presses, and they're leading me to believe that it's a 7 out of 10. But I know in my heart you aren't cool enough to give this a 7 out of 10. So I'm going to guess you gave it a 6.
I am going to give this movie a 6, 7. 6, 7.
6, 7?
6, 7. I don't know, because there are a couple movies by Shyamalan that I have as a 7. They're Knock at the Cabin and Glass, which though Knock at the Cabin, I feel like people were nicer to it than I was.
Glass,
I think most people were. Glass, I think most people were meaner to it than I was. But again, it's like, oh, I think they kind of work, but I want more from them. Because like, I like The Happening, but also I could watch Spielberg's War of the Worlds, which you haven't seen, maybe you wouldn't feel the same, but I do think it has some similar vibes to this one. Of course, this one is like partly inspired by like the book War of the Worlds. So I'm like,
yeah, oh man,
I don't
I was
know.
about to say, because some of the shots in this are very Spielbergy.
Yeah, but I think War of the Worlds for me is like, that one's really effective. I don't get scared by movie. I definitely wasn't scared by The Happening, but the War of the Worlds actually kind of got me in some areas. Just the apocalyptic feeling. I didn't quite get it from this. So again, I think it kind of works. I am in between a 6 and a 7. I can't really say. I'll decide. But yeah,
you're talking about not being scared about the apocalypse, but I'll tell you what's really fucking scary. Old people.
Yeah! The Visit.
2015's The Visit.
2015.
I'm sure that probably anyone listening to this was alive when this came out,
Yep.
when that came out. But it
2015.
was marketed as his big return to form. Commercials for it everywhere. I think it made a really good chunk of change.
It is, I believe, his least expensive movie. It was made with Blumhouse, and they love making cheap shit. Rare Blumhouse W. I believe it costs $5 million, which is pretty awesome.
Really impressive.
Yep.
This is a movie that I've seen like 3 times before this point, so I'm a visitor. What can I say?
I think we should start a club.
The Visitors, and I'll jump into talking about The Visit once I learn a little bit about what Ole from Oliver thought about this movie, because I think this is your first time.
Yes, this is my first time as well. So this is in the third Shyamalan era. This is only a thing that I think, I'm not imposing on it. It's not perfect, but we had like the hits, we had the flops, and now we have the like divisive era where it's like they get like pretty good reviews. People are generally enthusiastic, but I know there are people who think this movie is dumb. However, Jake, I am not one of those people. The Visit is among my favorite Shyamalan.
Holy shit! What?
It is among my favorite Shyamalan movies.
Oh my god, I was not expecting that.
I am emphatically in favor of The Visit. I did not have the experience that I had with The Happening, where I was like, I want to defend this, and I am defending it, but I'm like, I get why people don't like it. I don't get why anyone doesn't like this movie. This movie's awesome.
The Visit is a gimmick movie, which a lot of people say is like an insult. Most of my favorite movies are gimmick movies. I like gimmick stuff. What can I say? And it's a gimmick movie that is really elevated by Shyamalan's humor. This is his best. Might be his funniest movie, I will say.
It is quite amazing. No, and
Shyamalan wrote all the raps. And there's a little rapping boy in this movie, and he busts some fucking sick rhymes. And I think every single rap was written by Shyamalan, which is fucking awesome.
I mean, maybe he has the future. If he ever retires from the movie biz, maybe he'll go up on stage, the Super Bowl with Snoop Dogg and Eminem, and just go ham. But yeah, I was like slightly cautious because I when found footage is done right, I kind of like it. I love Cloverfield, which is shocking to most people. I'm very pro Cloverfield. It is an aesthetic that I think can be very visceral. But I was concerned, just not knowing much about the movie, I was concerned, it looks like way too pristine than like most found footage. Most found footage looks kind of like purposely shitty.
But guess what, motherfucker?
Yeah.
What are those kids carrying around the entire movie? They're not carrying around fucking iPods.
They're not. They're carrying around cameras. I mean, if I wanted to nitpick, I could say, okay, man, I'm jealous of the lighting you guys are getting on this raw footage. But because the movie is smart about actually making it's been described in some of the like interview stuff as like, it's not really a found footage, it's like a mockumentary, essentially. That
really is. That's a good call.
I mean, she is the character who is filming everything with her brother is editing it together. So even in the end, when we have like a music choice, like most part, there's not many music. It's like, it's not a cheap thing where they just forgot their found footage movie. It's like she is adding that music in. And she sets that up very early on. There are a lot of great setups and payoffs throughout the entire thing.
I love the daughter filmmaker. I love the angle that it's told from. I love that the director, or like in the story, the director is involved in the story.
Right.
Honestly, with everything that happens to her in this movie, she's dedicated to fucking movies. She's like the Werner Herzog.
She knows her stuff.
When she finds her grandparents' bodies and the imposter, and the imposter is like yelling at her, explaining her plan. I love the little detail that the reason she keeps recording is so she can use her camera as her flashlight. And she does this.
Pick up on that.
She does a similar thing, I think. I don't think she does this to kill the imposter grandma, but she uses she uses her camera to like break the mirror that she used to get the piece of glass out to kill the kill the grandma or whatever.
I didn't even pick up on that. I thought she was pushed, and then she like used that opportunity to grab glass. I thought she was in the mirror.
Maybe she was pushed and the camera hit the thing.
You may be right. It's hard to tell because the movie is generally pretty smart about the perspective. So it makes
honestly either works. Either one is cool.
Either one is cool. Yeah, I mean, these kids are like really smart, and that's a thing that Shyamalan generally is doing in his movies that sort of divides some people because they're like, why are they talking like adults? I'm like, I don't know. I think it's cool to have kids like have a smart and active role in the narrative. And these kids are smart. They don't really. That's like the riskiest thing that anyone does in the movie, and it winds up paying off. Is her going down to the basement, and it's just because she wants to, investigate and find out and have something to turn in to the police when they come. So I don't know.
I guess she wasn't feeling that game of Yahtzee.
You never feel yourself yelling at the screen like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And it's, I mean, I don't know. If I had kids, which I don't want to have, I would show them this movie. I don't know. It would be a pretty good intro horror movie, I feel like.
And
kind of
one of the main complaints that I never got in this movie is she didn't show them a picture of the grandparents beforehand. Oh, what a shitty parent. Two things I have to say on that. One, she's shown to not be a very good mom, i.e. she's going on a cruise with her love muffin. While dropping her kids off.
What is the competition that he's on the cruise? It's like...
I forgot, but I remember it
facial hair or something. That reminded me that my grandpa went on one of these cruises, and this is not just a movie thing. He competed in Mr. Sexy Legs competition. I believe he might have won. So my grandpa is kind of just like Catherine Hahn's boy toy.
And the second thing is, and the one that I didn't really focus on when I watched this movie as a kid, it's the fact that she's estranged with her parents, Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, she's estranged from her parents. The dad's not in this picture. There's a very strong emotional core in this movie that really works, and it
does pay off in the end with Catherine Hahn's honestly very well delivered speech at the end, playing the footage of the kids when they were younger with their father before I forgot if he left.
He left them. It's very effective. Yeah, I mean, even just the little details that are kind of a little disturbing. The way that like that separation of a father like cause. I'm always spacing on characters' names, but the boy in this, he like developed OCD, and the girl's explaining it of like, oh, he the doctors say that's his way of controlling things after he sort of lost his dad in the picture.
The thing that makes this movie great is just the amount of details that fill up this movie that don't even necessarily need to be there, but just make the movie better altogether. Like,
right.
I remember I watched this most recently, like before this, with my mom, and she pointed out something to me. Like when they're playing Yahtzee, I think the imposter grandpa says like, "I was the best Yahtzee player in the cafeteria."
Oh shit! Oh yeah. Huh. Oh yeah, and then they're like asking like, what, where? No, it's an extremely extremely well executed characters and emotional core, extremely well executed twist. I did not know about the twist going in at all. So I was watching this on my bed and I was laying back, I was laughing, because when I'm going in a horror movie, I'm not trying to be pretentious, but I generally do not get scared at a horror movie, and it wasn't really different here. So I was just laying back having a good time. Then when Catherine Hahn delivers, listen to me very carefully, those aren't your grandparents, I like sat the fuck up and I like yelped. I was like, holy shit.
That's something I was actually going to ask you about, because I mentioned earlier that this was my fourth time or something like that seeing The Visit. So on this rewatch, I was like really just picking up on the little details that I didn't notice when I watched the movie when I was like 12, 13, I don't know.
Mhm.
When was this, 2015?
Yeah.
But now that you say that, I really forgot just how effective that twist is, man. When I first saw that movie in theaters, I like fucking bolted up.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean,
And I
it's
was
just like
worried
you.
maybe on rewatch that it could be a little too obvious about like how like the splatter is on the camera, but listening to you, you're right. It's such really good twist. Or maybe I'll go as far as to say his best twist since The Village.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of the movies in the in between area, but I feel like he relied on them less. And then weirdly, people criticize him for his twist, but then his least popular movies don't have a twist. So whatever. Um, we would spend like 3 hours on this podcast talking about why the Shyamalan hate is undeserved. But
God, and the fucking clue. I sound like such a like a little bitch, but the clues are so cool in this movie.
no, it's
Like when the guy comes over and he says the parents were, or no, the grandparents were talking about wanting to move like facilities or something because it was
Mhm.
getting to be too much for them. Ugh.
The grandparents, at first it's a magic trick of the movie that you're like, oh, they're, doing all these things because they're old and you feel bad for them. And it's like kind of scary, kind of weird. But the kids are, trying to be sensitive about it because these are, things that affect old people. And it's a particular
Mm-hmm.
obsession of Shyamalan of like, you know, on set,
And there's a
mental
really
illnesses
cool
and stuff
point.
like that.
There's a cool point in the middle where I think when they found out Pop shitting in the barn,
Yep.
where they go to grandma and she gives honestly a pretty rational explanation, and something with when they open the door and they see Nana out twerking it when she's like scratching the door. I think grandpa gives like kind of a crazy, but again, another rational thing.
Right.
So it's like, okay, these honestly could just be like some old people with some stuff going on.
Right. I mean, you watch the movie and you're like, okay, something weird is going to happen, but you're just like, oh, their
Hmm.
grandparents are secretly part of a satanic cult or something lame like that. That maybe Ari Aster would do. Sorry, shots fired.
Honestly,
Something completely
oh,
cool.
Ari Aster. Let me say it right here. Ari Aster sucks.
I think he is the
Stupid
poor man
fucking movies.
Shyamalan. I've said that before. Anyway, we won't try to alienate
Shyamalan,
that
he
audience
doesn't
too much,
he
but
doesn't have the talent that Shyamalan has in his fucking toe.
he doesn't have the compassion, and I think the compassion is what makes this twist work. Is that okay? We expect the grandparents to be weird. We don't expect them to be imposters, but we're led to doubt and doubt and doubt enough that when the rug is finally pulled out, we're like, oh shit, this is like really the time to get serious. So it's much more of a thriller. It's and there's much more tension. It's not just, and there's also significant amount of comedy, but we're not just like, oh, creepy hallway. It's not a slow and droning movie. It's 90 minutes, does everything it needs to. It lays out all the dominoes, and watching them get hit is
The
really
horror
satisfying.
the horror for me is not even necessarily what happens on screen, but what could happen. Or like
Yeah,
the reason why all of this is happening. What the kids fear, like their anxieties.
right.
Like you
And they're
feel the
good at
same thing that the
concealing
kids
it
do.
too, though. That's
The kids, let me just make this out here. The kids are great.
yeah, the kids are
Great
awesome.
actors in this. I
Did
really
you
like
know?
the son.
Yeah, he's awesome. Did you know that they're both Australian?
I did not.
They are both Australian. Very good accents. They are pros. Could
That
not.
kid sound. Oh my! The kid does a great American accent, man.
Yeah, both of them are excellent. No, yeah, I mean the girl is kind of the Lisa Simpson, the guy's kind of the Bart Simpson. Yet neither of them are completely dumb. Um, they are.
Both of them are beyond their stereotypes.
Yeah, they are
Which, and again,
navigating this.
like they do with the grandparents in their thing. There's a scene where like the boy explains something about her, and she explains something about the boy. Like you mentioned earlier, I think is
Yeah,
OCD, which
right.
like me.
Was it a fairly accurate depiction? I know you might not have the same kind of like, version of it that this kid does.
For a 12-year-old, for a 12, 13-year-old, I'm gonna have to say yes. I think I was. I mean, I'm not. It's not the same. Like it's different at every age and
Right,
it's
right,
every
right.
person differently. But I definitely felt it.
Does it have the
I think it
symptom
was.
of being able to bust the sickest rhymes, though?
I mean, I'm
Or are
not
you
gonna
able
lie. I got chills. I got the chills when he said shit don't taste like chicken.
I got the chills when he asked, "Do you know who Tyler the Creator is?" And I'd like to point out this movie. This movie is from 2015. This movie's from 2015, so that Shyamalan's like a hardcore Tyler shooter because this isn't even. This is like Cherry Bomb era. This isn't even like
Shit, I was about to say, is that
post
kid fucking
Flower
bumping
Boy.
Cherry Bomb? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's the funniest part. I'm like, this guy's into edgy Tyler. This is like the Tyler that Tyler regrets. This is
Completely believable for that little white boy. Awesome for Shyamalan.
it's so cool. No, I mean people have described Shyamalan as like a I don't know, kind of he has this childish wonder about him, even though he's making these super kind of disturbing, twisty movies, and you can really feel that.
Yeah, he's like he's who was that compared to? He's like Stephen King when he writes with kids.
Yeah,
Those are his usual like or with
less
Miyazaki.
orgies though, less orgies.
Less orgies in this one. Thank
No,
you.
yeah, no, it
And
works
you know what?
fantastically.
I've been trying not to talk about it up to this point, but now I think we need to. Let's talk about Grandma and Pop Pop.
Oh yeah, both excellent performances.
Now, I rewatched this with my mom, and I was doing a bit while watching it this time, because she's seen it before too. Let's see how long it takes before we would have actually, like, you know, gotten the fuck out of there.
Right.
And for the first 45 minutes, I was like, you know what? They got a few screws loose, that's whatever, but they just kind of seem like party animals.
Right.
I can get down with these people. Play a game of Yahtzee.
They like to party after 9:30. They like to scratch the walls. They like to twerk it.
Hey, remember when they were chasing under the thing?
Oh, that was awesome.
I like how that's not even like supposed to be like one of the crazy horror things, because Catherine Hahn says on the computer like, "Oh, I did that as a kid."
Yeah. But
So
again,
that's
another
just,
piece of doubt.
normal
It's
grandma.
like, okay, yeah.
Ah, grandma.
Silly Billy.
And I don't know about you, but my mom was like, "Grandma, the imposter grandmother's beautiful. What a beautiful woman."
I don't know who's worse in this movie, the Pop Pop or Grandma. I don't know who I'm. Maybe Pop Pop. I don't know.
I think
Smearing the shit in that guy's face is like very rude. I don't know.
that is very mean.
I think he has malicious intentions. I think the grandma is just like normal, kind of like losing it.
I think the grandma's losing it. And I think Pop Pop's a little worse, because he explains his motivations in the basement a little bit, talking about wanting to give her like a perfect week.
The alien stuff where you're like, oh man, crazy story. They're just telling crazy stories, or they're just, have dementia. I'm like, nope, he believes in that. He's gonna drop the kids in the well, kill them. I don't even.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the well.
I don't even know the name.
There's a fantastic shot. I think it's like they're standing far away from Grandma and Pop Pop, and they're just like very still looking down in the well. So really just great stuff in here.
Multiple times where they're pretending to play ball outside, and they're
and they're just like throwing it in the air.
Yeah, I mean, and he's like spinning around, and then the girl's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "This is how kids play," and they're trying to perform for them as the perfect kids that they wanted, because the grandma like kills her own kids, right? And so they're the Pop Pop's like trying to make grandma happy. I don't know. So they're trying to put on a show for them, and try to restrain themselves to a certain point, but they are obviously disturbed. So I think it's like believable, the amount that they're able to navigate this situation. Probably stronger than I could. I don't know if I would have been able to kill them in the end. I don't know about
the
you.
Kid, I think the shit in the face is what brings that kid, like, that's what really does him in, because I think when he's like crushing his head with the what's it called, the refrigerator.
Yeah.
The girl's like, okay, stop, Jesus Christ, and he's just like fully lost. Like, well, I think that's us.
Wasn't he bringing back the football thing? Like when he was describing, like in his interview, he was talking about like how he flubbed like a football move when his dad was around. So he's bringing that back. That was an excellent.
He's acting out of pure emotion there.
Yeah.
And I think the kid just like really does it, man. He really pulls it off.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
I
those
think he's a good little actor,
Yeah.
even though he's probably older than me.
No, I love those like interview bits where they're trying to get a rise out of each other, and they're using like real interview techniques where they're like trying to warm them up and then ask them a tough question, and they keep asking the grandparents and they keep spasming or ignoring it, which are nice little clues too, where they just don't know what to say. 'Cause
And not
they
that
don't know
this
Catherine.
movie is all clues and scary grandparents. Shyamalan, I learned, made a comedy cut of this movie, a horror cut of this movie, and the final cut that we all know is a mix of the two. And let me say,
Perfectly.
there is some fucking all-time great bits in here.
It's awesome. Yeah, talk a bit
I
about
love
the
when
Tokyo
I
shit.
love when Pop Pop sees a guy across the street and he's like, "Is he that guy looking at me?" And he just goes and like beats the shit out of him. There's some really good blocking where she drops the camera, but you
Right.
could still see like the corner. I think I wrote that.
Yeah,
I think I wrote about that part down.
that is really cool.
I love the train conductor guy who said he used to be a rapper too.
Or no, it used to be
real
was
shit,
it used
man.
to be an actor? Yeah, it was used to be an
Oh, he
actor.
used to be an actor.
There was two people who said they used to be an actor, and they're both like trying to quote Shakespeare, I think, which is a very good running bit.
I think this is one of his best screenplays. Not a wasted line. Everything comes back. Everything wraps around in the end.
Perfect length. it's the note that it ends
Perfect
on.
length.
Yeah.
Not
It
even that's
should have
not even
been
the pacing, dude.
right.
Paced
Pacing is
entire
excellent.
perfect 90-minute movie.
It should have been in the SNL short ass movies rap. That's a waste.
It should have been in the
opportunity.
SNL short ass movies rap.
Come on, Gunna.
Give me that short ass movie, a 90-minute movie. Like Liar, Liar, Evil Dead, Punch Drunk Low, Erase Head.
Do you think I was about to say? You think Gunna has seen this?
Probably. I mean, if you've seen all the Ernest movies, then this is next on the list.
Hey, well, Ernest is essential, so don't talk on Ernest.
Yeah, but no, I'm pretty gung ho about this one. I there really isn't a lot that I could criticize. I don't know. I think it's an excellent thriller, top to bottom. Every performance it's doing the job. All the little details I'm sure would make for a very rewarding second viewing. Comedy's pitch perfect. Yeah, and it's just
I think you could call this his most rewatchable, possibly, maybe.
yeah.
This is even though all his movies have a very good rewatchability factor.
Yeah, this is one where the twist most puts things in perspective. Sixth Sense, it's like a lot of people know that twist. But this one, it was pretty well concealed. I got to give people credit. I did not know about this one from the internet. So, no, I really liked it.
And if I had to guess your rating,
Guess that.
oh man, what's the FM rating? It's either an 8 or a 9, but I don't know. 8.
Jake, I'm giving this movie a 9.
Oh yeah!
it's the because you got it wrong, but the yeah because it's good.
Oh my god! Okay, you understood completely what I was doing there, and
Yeah.
it's a little scary.
No, I've learned to study the Dean scream. Its inflection. No, I mean it is in the upper echelon of Shyamalan movies for me. It's either first or second best of this like new sort of era, this comeback tour that he's on.
You prefer it to old?
I prefer it to old for sure. Split is the question for me. I really do like Split. But we'll see how Trap turns out. It's coming out very soon. You're seeing it sooner than me.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to wait.
I'll be seeing Trap opening night. My mom is one of M. Night's biggest fans, so we'll definitely be going to see that.
I'm so excited to see what they do with Josh Hartnett and his character. I don't know. I think the concepts are like cool. I'm
interested to see how he does the concepts, because he did give away that Josh Hartnett is the goofy little killer man in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that would be the twist in the end, but that would be kind of predictable. From an M. Night movie, we'd be like, okay. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he won't twist it. Maybe he'll do something. I don't know.
Who knows?
But yeah, these were.
And before we go, Ephraim Oliver, what do you think I have The Visit rated as?
Oh gosh. Okay, you said The Happening was an 8. I wonder. You're a weird little man, Jake. I wonder if you I guess I'm not judging which one you prefer, but do you prefer it enough that you would give The Visit a 9? I don't know. You're a bit sparing on your 9, so I'm gonna guess an 8. But let's see.
The Visit is an 8 out of 10, baby.
All right, I'm on the
Perfect 8.
money.
Love
I'm on
it.
the money.
Weirdly enough, I think I prefer The Happening. That might just be like a big
That's
opinion though.
interesting.
I
mean,
really like The Happening, dude. I don't know.
I like
I'm
The
sure.
Happening,
I
but
really hope there's one person out there who just like gets The
oh no,
Happening
I
and is like
mean, I
rocking
know
their
there are
fists and
people
is just like,
listening to
yeah,
this that
I feel
that
seen.
yeah, no, I know there are people listening to this that really fuck with The Happening. I like it,
Good.
but it would not be one of the like stronger Shyamalans for me. The Visit, though, I
Yeah.
think is excellent.
I think you do like The Visit more than me, which I'm actually pleasantly surprised to hear. I don't prefer it to like Village, Unbreakable, and that
I
stuff,
don't
but I do
prefer it
really like it.
to The Village. Village is great, and I think The Village again does some of the sort of panic hysteria stuff that The Happening's going for a little bit better, and I think it's enhanced by the twist of just dealing with ambiguous situations in a large group. I think that Pitch perfectly does it. I think The Happening tries to go for an homage and tries to do it on a larger scale, but it doesn't flow perfectly. But I love this. I love Shyamalan working with low budgets, and I think that's kind of my deal. Is I kind of like when he's I don't want him to lose money, but I like when he's self-financing, is just working within a smaller scale, because this is like absolutely one of the best like one location thrillers, and it's very doable. It's very inspiring to anyone who wants to get into screenwriting. And I mean,
Honestly, you
notably,
watch it and you're surprised a movie like this hasn't been made before.
yeah, because like old people being scary, old people being naked and running down hallways feels like it's done to death now. But I think this is like the best version of it. It's definitely better than Barbarian. Um, Probably X, but okay, I'm shitting on horror too much. I'm generally not a fan of horror, which is why it's when I tell you Shyamalan, I love him. I'm coming from a genuine place, because he just has a compassionate quality where you really care about and are invested in the characters, and then you have that reward in the third act with the twist, to kind of invest you in the whole thing. There's just more to it than just surface level horror, even though he likes using gimmicks. So yeah,
Honestly, with M. Night Shyamalan, I just think he's just a straight up normal great director. I don't understand why M. Night is the person to get all the shit, but whatever, what are you gonna do? He's one of the best going today, I think, and I really hope he just keeps on making what he wants to be real.
Fewer words never spoken. Jake, about both of these movies, you had alluded to, you have a list on Letterboxd, protagonists who would listen to Weezer. Is
Oh.
Pete Diamond Stylus on that list?
He listens to Tyler the Creator. And you know what? Tyler the Creator fans are like the same level of virgin as Weezer, so I think I'm
Oh,
gonna have to
Weezer?
say
You're
yes.
gonna have to add The Visit to the list then.
I will.
Now
I'm gonna have to say no for Mark Wahlberg in The Happening.
No,
I think he's more of a Pearl Jam guy.
there are certain movies where I believe that the protagonist has not ever listened to music. Mark Wahlberg's kind of on that list for me. I can't picture him listening to anything. I can picture him listening to like NPR, but I just don't think he's ever heard a song.
NPR?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? Is that going to be the final thing we talk about?
Well, I have just one last question. Would you rather
What's your
listen
question?
to T Diamond Stylus from The Visit or Mid-Size Sedan from Old? Which is the rapper that's really killing it for you?
That's like asking between Kanye West and Kanye West, but like not like 2020's Kanye West, like 2007 Kanye West.
Right. So no preference?
No preference.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. The next episode of Jews with No Money, we will be covering two movies from Thomas Cruise Mapado the Fourth. They will be Risky Business and Born on the 4th of July. Risky Business I have seen. Jake has not. And then neither of us have seen Oliver Stone's Vietnam movie. So this will be an interesting one.
I guess we're gonna fucking find out.
I guess we'll find out. So I've been Ephraim.
And I've been Jake. And you know what? I kind of want to kill myself with a lawnmower.
Wait, what the fuck?